This is Brandon with Fleet Feet, and today I'm going to be giving you a review of a shoe that I love so much, the Novablast 4. I've run 100 miles in it, so let me take you through it and tell you all about my experience. The Novablast has been one of my favorite shoes of all time. I remember getting the second model of this shoe and knowing that it had so much potential. I remember my first time running in the Novablast 2, and it was a shoe that I got so many miles in. Through high school and college, most of my daily training miles had come from the Nike Pegasus, and there wasn't much convincing on switching that shoe for me until I got the Novablast 2 on my feet. After running in that shoe, I basically fell in love with it, and it only got better from there. Fast forward to the Novablast 3, it got lighter, it got faster, it upgraded in stack, and it got a new foam, and it became one of the most hyped shoes of that year. It was energetic, no one could beat its weight. The Novablast 3 was basically the gateway into ASICS building the Superblast, and the Superblast was one of my favorite shoes, if not my favorite shoe of all time. And so I'm really happy to see that there's not only been a progression from the second to the third model, but how this Novablast shoe has inspired other shoes in the ASICS line. And now we're on to the Novablast 4, which has gained even more stack, it has gotten more cushioned, and it has a new foam. I won't be getting into too many technical details about the Novablast 4. If you want to hear about those, you can check out our full review on the blog or on YouTube. But for now, I'm just going to tell you some of my experiences running in it. Most of my runs in this shoe have been easy day runs or up-tempo miles. If I want to have a more fun or energetic ride, or if I want to just have that real pop sensation with enough protection on foot, then the Novablast 4 provides that. The longest run I've done in this shoe so far is 10 miles, and it felt great. This is one of those shoes that starts off nice and slow, very relaxed, but you start to pick up the pace and fall into a rhythm more and more. And I think that's due to the trampoline effect. You kind of have this bounce board here that will really propulse you forward as you're going through your stride, and that was something I really liked about it. The additional millimeters in stack from the third to the fourth model also offered a lot more protection and stability than the third version, but with all of these additional upgrades, the shoe did gain about an ounce in weight. And because of the higher weight, I think that it is a bit of a different shoe than that of the third model. But after 100 miles, how are these shoes holding up? After 100 miles, I can confirm that this shoe still has a lot of the bounce and magic and love that I got from it when I first put on the shoe. What I did notice is that with the higher stack and the new foam in this shoe, it actually holds up and compresses less than the last model. And with the new Harlow rubber, not only did the traction get better, but the durability as well. So if you can tell here, even after 100 miles, there's not that much wear and tear in this shoe. And you can tell that it's really not been chipped away at too much, which is great. It's one of those shoes that I think is going to be promising over a long term. Generally, shoes that focus on speed and being light and being nimble or fast lack durability, they lack traction, and you can find that to be true in most tempo day or race day shoes. Most of those shoes I don't recommend for more than 200 or 250 miles because the foam is so fragile, it breaks down fast. The outsole rubber may not be so durable because they're trying to save in areas for some weight. But the Novablast 4 complements a very fast and bouncy, energetic ride while still maintaining a lot of its durability. Many people think that the durability of a shoe and the life of a shoe really comes from the midsole, but it also comes from the outsole. It's a combination of those two. If you make an outsole rubber that can last all the way up to 600 miles, but your midsole foam dies out at 200, it's not really a great use for you. I'm reviewing tons of shoes every week, and the fact that I still come back to this shoe and have the time to put in about 100 miles in it shows how much I actually love it and how well it holds up. But now I'm really curious to see where this shoe goes next. What is next for the Novablast? Is there going to be a Novablast 5? Probably. And if so, what does that integration start to look like? Well, I think that there's a lot of inspiration that can come from the Superblast. The Superblast has Flight Foam Turbo on the top. It is lighter than the Novablast 4. It has more stack, and it has a little bit of Flight Foam Blast Plus in it as well for a softer landing. Both of these shoes are great shoes, but the Superblast actually is a bit faster on foot, and it has a more lightweight and slimmed down upper. There are two ways that I think that Novablast can solve some of its issues from the fourth to the fifth model, especially in its weight, and I think that they could probably slim down the upper even more, and instead of having all Flight Foam Blast Eco, they could start to implement some of that lighter foam of Turbo in there and make a dual density layer, and that to me would be really exciting. And if you really want to make this shoe a faster shoe, then you could even throw a plate in it. ASICS has so many daily trainers on the market right now, and because of this shoe's softness and how relaxed it is on foot, and how plush it is, it falls too closely in line with that of, say, the Nimbus or the Cumulus. It's still a faster and more energetic option, but I don't think it differentiates itself enough from the Legends just yet. And if ASICS wants to create an up-tempo daily trainer, then I think taking some notes from Hoka or New Balance would be a good place to start. The Hoka Mach 6 or the Mach X has dual density layers, and one of them has a plate in it. I think that there's options for the Novablast to fall into that direction or move that way. And with New Balance, with the Rebel V4, they have a very lightweight and breathable upper and a fuel cell midsole, which is what you can find in their race day shoe, the SC Elite. So I think there's an option to integrate Flight Foam Turbo into the Novablast line to just give it a little bit more spring and bounce and cut its weight. I'd like to consider this shoe the little sibling of the Superblast, so a lower profile and lighter weight option of the Superblast would be the way that I'd want this shoe to go. But the Novablast 4 can't stand on its own, and that's where I do think that there are some shoe offerings that you can pair it with. The first one being obviously the Superblast. The Superblast and the Novablast are just meant to be together. They're basically inspired from each other. They both have similar technologies, feel, and foam inside of them. So I think there's an opportunity to cycle through both of these shoes. You can get some of your easier runs in this shoe or everyday miles in the Novablast, and then you can get some of your faster long run days done in the Superblast. But what about speed? While the Superblast is fast, it's not as nimble as some of the other shoes on the market, especially for race day or tempo running. And that's where you fall into the speed category, which I think you can cover with the Speed 4. I think if you integrate the Speed 4 around the Novablast and the Superblast, you still get that nice dialed in feel, but now you're getting an introduction to a nylon plate, and you're getting a nice PIBA foam in there, which is still premium technology similar to that in the Superblast. And then for race day, I'd round it out with the Hoka Rocket X2. Not only is this shoe lightweight, but it upgrades from that nylon plate in the Speed 4 to a full length carbon plate. You can race in the shoe all the way from the 5K to the marathon distance. It's cushioned enough, and with its integration of PIBA foam and a full length carbon fiber plate, it's a nice upgrade, but still a familiar balance to that of the Speed 4. I'm sure there's a lot of other shoes that you can match with this one, but for me personally, that would just be my pick in my line. And I think that between those 4 shoes, you can really get a lot covered. But just to bring it back to the Novablast 4, even after 100 miles, I think I'm still going to run even more in this shoe. So even if I can get up to 200 or 300 or 400 miles, I'll give you an update then. But it doesn't seem like this foam has died out just yet, and it seems like it has a ton of life left in it. And with the outsole rubber still going strong, I think that there's a ton of opportunity to still run in this shoe and get tons of miles in it. I'm excited to test it out in maybe a few other conditions when the roads are a little bit more wet and there's a lot more rain, maybe through some tougher terrain like some dirt or some gravel roads, and just see how this holds up over time and really give it a nice challenge. If you haven't gotten the opportunity to try out the Novablast 4, I would at least put it on and try it out and just see if you like it. I think it's a shoe that's going to be very reliable and durable, and if you're going to spend your hard-earned money on a shoe, you want to make sure that it's going to hold up well over the long term and that you're not going to be going back and trying to buy a new shoe too soon. If you have any questions about the Novablast 4, drop them in the comments below, or like I said, you can check out the full review on fleetfeet.com or check out our full review on YouTube. But for now, those are just my initial thoughts after 100 miles. And if you want to stay connected and get a deeper inside look at all of the shoes that we're testing out or running in, you can follow us on all of our social media channels on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, wherever we might be.